Well, listening to that hearing this morning was Francisco Marquez. He was a political prisoner for 4 months in Venezuela before being forced into exile here in the U.S. He now works as a political advisor to opposition leader Juan Guaido's ambassador here in Washington. Mr. Marquez joined me in the studio a short time ago. You were in the hearing on Capitol Hill.
I was.
Were you disappointed to hear Democrats in Congress rule out the option of U.S. military force to get rid of Nicolas Maduro?
I think that right now we have to maintain focus on what's the most important thing, and it's to restore democracy on Venezuela. And really the main point, what does it entail? Well, right now there's a big push for humanitarian assistance. Interim President Guaido has had one constant act, and he's done it again and again. He has asked our allies, everyone who recognizes the interim presidency, to help push forward humanitarian assistance, and that's what our agenda is. And so what we do appreciate is bipartisan support, which has been shown, recognizing the interim president, and everyone's pushing for humanitarian assistance. So that's what we're happy about, and that's what the main focus is being. Anything else sometimes has become a bit of a distraction, and people on both sides of the aisle and both parties have stressed that they're supporting democracy in Venezuela, and they're supporting our cause.
I understand there's a cabal of about 9 or 10 generals right at the top. If they don't shift, then it looks like Nicolas Maduro stays in power. How are you going to convince them over this border issue and this standoff on the aid convoy to come over to your side?
The Venezuelan military people are Venezuelans. They have family members. They are suffering at the hands of this regime, just like every other Venezuelan. And that is something that we know has deeply affected at the core of the military. There are many honorable military men who are waiting for the right time and who are actively participating in helping this cause. Many, the vast majority of Venezuelans want democracy. This is a solution that, as Venezuelans, we're putting forward, and many other democratic nations. Over 50 nations have recognized interim President Guaido, and they've realized that the pressure that needs to be done to create democracy in Venezuela needs to come from within and from abroad. And so we know that the military are getting the message. They're getting the message that in February it's going to be very key what they decide, and we believe that they will decide with the Venezuelan people.
You've spent time in prison. You're
Yes.
a patient man. You know what it is to spend your days fighting for a cause. How do you keep up the momentum inside Venezuela now? How do you keep people up on the streets?
First, I would like to refer, I saw that regime Maduro, he mentioned that in Venezuela there has never been repression and that there will never be repression. Well, you have here in your studio someone who was 4 months in prison, who witnessed torture firsthand, who saw how the director of my prison said, when you get out of prison, make sure you tell everyone all the bad things that you lived, because the guys up top will reward me. That systematic violation of human rights is what Maduro represents in Venezuela. And so, to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily describe myself as a patient man, because the Venezuelan people are not patient any longer. Daily, think everyone who sees this, think of what it would be like to have a family member who has cancer who cannot get their medicine. Think of what it would be like to look at your child and say, son, today you can't eat, your sister is the one that's going to have to eat. That is the current situation of the Venezuelan family, and that's what the democratic forces are striving to change as fast as possible. And we appreciate, by the way, the support of the European Union, of the US, and the vast majority of Latin American countries.
Francisco Marquez, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.